welcome, and it's that time of the week again. It's the Ort Jet Business Show. I'm your host, David Zidel, and we're going to talk business. We're going to be talking tonight to Nadav Ossendryver. So Nadav is based in the UK somewhere. So good evening.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Nadav, I'm going to introduce a little business story and then we'll come across to you. I'll introduce you formally. So I heard a story recently. In fact, today I was sitting in the doctor's room and there was a woman who came in, and she's from one of these people who try sell or promote their drugs to the doctors. And I said to her, you've come into a room and you sit with sick people and you do this all the time and you're not even sick yourself. Don't you feel terrible coming and sitting in a room of sick people? And her response was interesting. She said, do you know that it helps my immunity so much that I hardly get sick? And that's like a real business lesson. Like sometimes the hard things, the difficult things, the things we think that are going to make us sick, that are going to hurt us, are the ones that actually make us stronger. And related to that, I was listening to David Lappin yesterday, and he was talking about the story with the acacia tree and the avocado tree. Now, Nadav, now that, you're in the wild and you see this acacia tree, and most acacia trees have thorns on them.
Yeah.
And the truth is that they're actually not born they don't grow with thorns. They develop the thorns as a defense mechanism. So when animals eat them, and I think giraffes love to eat them a lot, they develop thorns to try and protect themselves. Avocado trees are the exact opposite. Avocado trees, if you hit a nail into an avocado tree or you cut off some of the branches, it actually produces more fruit. So the one's response is to create thorns to stop you, and the other one is to reward you more, that you'll stop cutting it up, and it rewards you for that. And I think that relates to business people, and it's for you to see, what are you? Are you an acacia tree, or are you an avo tree? I find that fascinating. But listen to this, everybody. So tonight is a story of innovation and really inspiration. It's a deep love for the wild. So Nadav was born in Israel, but he was raised in South Africa. And from the age of 8, he used to take his holidays to the Kruger Park, used to love that, spent a lot of time doing that. And over the next 7 years, he used to visit quite regularly, and he was captivated by the wildlife. When he was about grade 9, he thought to himself, there must be a better way of finding out where these animals are than stopping every car coming past and asking them what they had seen. That moment led to the creation of what would become a globally recognized, the latest sighting website and app. And what it is, it's built to connect nature lovers and let them track the animal sightings in real time wherever they are. In 2010, Nadav won an iPhone in a competition, and that allowed him to see this whole world of apps. The prize was more than the iPhone. The prize was almost like the rest of his life. And then he monetized it through allowing others to connect with their YouTubes. And one of the things, and Nadav will go into this, there was the Battle of Kruger, which was a very well-known clip that everybody watched. And I think it was buffaloes and lions, and it was a fascinating thing. And Nadav piggybacked on it with another video of the Battle of Kruger, but a different one. And that kind of launched him. And again, that lesson is about taking or making use of opportunities as they arise. So Nadav, hopefully you'll be sharing your story with us. I've given a little bit of background to it. So welcome to the show, and just take us
Thanks.
back to the early days. Did I reflect your idea correctly? How did this idea come about? And a lot of us have ideas, but we never turn it into something practical. How did you go from the idea to making it practical?
So the basis of why I created it is exactly that. I was going to the Kruger and all the different game reserves, Pilanesberg, and all I wanted to do was to see animals. You can ask my parents, where for 3 days straight, when I was 8, on my first trip to the Kruger, I was just begging every second, like, where are the lions, where are the lions, where are the lions, like literally 24/7. And on the last day, the last sighting was a pride of lions in the road. And so that was like the moment where I really got hooked. And I'm sure you'll speak to every other bush lover out there. Like there was a moment where they just got hooked to it. And that was definitely that for me. Um, but I always like to kind of be as like efficient as possible in whatever I do, and whether it's the Kruger or anything. Um, and I found that when we were driving around the whole day looking for the animals, even though that is fun and we're there to be in nature, I still kind of wanted to see more and to use our time better by spending it at sightings type of thing. But I didn't know where they were. And the best way was to look at the sightings boards in the camp, which are little magnets people put on where they saw a lion. Those aren't very accurate, but the kind of the best and most accurate way was to just stop and speak to people. Um, but I wasn't driving and I had no control, and so I had to ask my parents to stop everyone. And then eventually they just got sick of it, and they were like, we're not asking anyone else. And that was kind of when I was thinking, surely someone, or like there's another way of knowing where these animals are without having to do that, without having to kind of speak to every single car. And that was the idea. It wasn't a business. It wasn't like I was setting out to start like a huge thing. It was, how can I see an extra lion, an extra leopard, or something like that on my next trip? And that's how I started. And that was basically what I wanted to get out of it.
So how did you go about that? Because I'm sure there are many 15 and 14-year-olds who wish things were different, but then they
Yeah.
don't do something to make it different. They just carry on wishing. How did you go about actually developing it? With the idea that this wasn't going to be a business. So
Mm.
what was your
So
next step after the idea?
so I'll go back even a tiny bit more. From 8 years old, after the first trip to Kruger where I fell in love with it, me and my good friend at the time, we decided we wanted to buy a game reserve. And so we did the cliche thing of, we had a lemon tree, we cut up lemons, made lemonade, and sold it. And that at 8 or 9, it is the cliche, but at the time I didn't know what it was. I was just like, I needed to make some money to buy a game reserve. That was the only way. And so for every single weekend, we would sit and we would sell lemonade in the street. And I think for me, as I grew up, I just learned to appreciate that I am, like, maybe, as they say, like an entrepreneur at heart. Like, it is something that I've always just been good at, something that I was like, I had an idea, I went out and I did it. I didn't wait for anything. And so, I could see that in myself from early age. And so when I had this idea of how to create a community of people sharing sightings, I just went out and did it. I didn't even know like what my plan was going to be. I just created a Facebook page, a website, all of that stuff, all the standard things that that you would say a business needs. But for me, it was just packing up all the community. And I joined all the different forums online, and I was just being active, asking people what they'd seen, when they were next going to the park, and that's kind of how the community started and how I started. They're all free platforms that I just utilized. I didn't spend any money on it. I just wanted to know who was in the park, see what they were seeing, and start like creating a small place where we could share the sightings. And that's kind of how I started.
So it started as a Facebook page. And did you carry on doing it even when you weren't in the park, or did you? So because you
Yeah.
wanted it to be available when you went there. So you started getting people. And how did you attract, or do you remember what was your greatest attraction mechanism, if I can call it that? How did you attract most people, or were people just attracted to the concept?
So you asked if I was only doing when I was in the park. For me, this is now when I was 15, so I was a bit older than 8 years old, and I could think, I would say a bit more like into the future, and I knew what I wanted to build. And I knew that it couldn't rely on just my sightings and me being in the park. I wanted to be something bigger than that. And also, even though it kind of started selfishly with, I want to see more animals, I want to see a lion or whatever, I knew that the only way it would help me was if I build a community that of people that just help each other. So I kind of focused on how do I get people to share themselves when I'm not in the park, and also how to do it in a way that I don't have to ask people all the time. I want them to just want to do it. Um, and so it definitely wasn't like predicated on me being in the park. What I did though to start the like the attraction and getting people to know about it was I I phoned up a marketing company, and I did the same with the app, right? So I phoned up an app development company. I asked them, this is my idea. I want to build an app. How do you do it? And how much will it cost? And the app developers quoted millions. And I was like, okay, well, next, I'm not gonna do that. I don't have anything. So I was like, okay, let's drop the app. Let's build a Facebook page, stuff like that, right? The next thing was, okay, I had this website that I quickly built, on WordPress that allowed people to just add like a little text box. The next thing was how to get people to know about it and to use it. So again, I thought, why don't I advertise? Why don't I phone a radio station and advertise it? And again, it was like 50,000 Rand for an ad. And I was like, well, no, I can't do that. So next. And so those were my constraints. I didn't have any money to advertise, to build an app or anything. So I needed to do everything kind of for free. And the only way that I could think of was social media platforms. And this was back in 2011, where even Instagram was like not even like heard of. I didn't know about Instagram at the time. So this was like that was the only way to reach millions of people at the time. And so I was thinking Twitter, you know, I want people who will use the app, who will be active and who will share sightings. Those people might be on Twitter and might be tweeting. And if they're doing that, then those are the perfect people who would also share their sightings in the app. So what I wanted to do is I would look at every single tweet that had the word lion in it, that had the word Skukuza in it, which is a camp in the Kruger Park, every tweet that had the word Kruger in it, and basically analyze that and read and see if that person was in the park and speak to them. And I had like 500 tabs open, literally, and I would literally just sit and read tweets all day. And I would see every so often someone was in the Kruger and I just saw a lion. And okay, I was like, okay, that's like 2 kilometers from this road. Let me tell every other person that I knew who was in the park about that lion. And maybe if they get to see it, they will find it useful. And that was basically how I did it. I found people who were in the park. I'd help them first with the sighting. And if they found it useful, 99% of the time they wanted to know where other sightings were. And I was like, well, join the community, share your sightings, and that's how it started. And basically we we grew to like thousands of users by the end of like the first December holidays, which was really, really cool. And I was excited. I had like I basically started this in December, where everyone was on holiday. I had time to just focus on it. And it was exciting that by January, we were already getting sightings every single day, and it's never stopped since then. So, yeah.
So this was on what platform was this? That originally, when you said you had so many users, what platform was that on? Was that on
So
Facebook?
it was it was kind of everywhere. I think at the time I'd already won that iPhone that you mentioned. So I built a website that allowed people kind of like a Facebook status was to type a little text, a little message. And what I did is I wrapped that into an app. And so I started pushing everyone to the app. Um, and so that was where I counted that we had like thousands of users. I think we had over 30,000 downloads in the first 3 months, which was
Wow.
crazy. And it went pretty viral, like, because it was brand new. Then it quietened down. We weren't getting like 30,000 downloads every 3 months, but that was like a crazy good start.
Right. So if you're wondering who I'm talking to Nadav Ossendryver, the owner, the creator of Latest Sightings, which is an app which allows you to know where the animals are in the game park based on the sightings of other people. Then, Nadav, so where did you go from there? And at what stage did this feel like this is no longer just a hobby. This can be a business.
There were quite a few stages when I felt that. And I also wanted to say to the previous question about the attraction, right? I would say the first and biggest turning point was in January of 2012. So I started in 2011 in December around, and January 2012 there were floods, and it was destroying the Kruger. Every road was flooded and stuff like that. And now suddenly everyone had a place to share the photos of the flooding, and it was later sightings, and it was the first time that news agencies were linking to us and discovered us, and I think we we skyrocketed like from there, from that little flood situation in January. And I think that was also a huge turning point to suddenly people realizing what this was and that it was available. The other point where I started realizing that this could be a lot bigger than just me was when my phone was getting confiscated almost every single day at school. I was having to leave every day at school for different things. I wanted to set a meeting here and there or a radio interview or whatever it was. And school started wondering, like, what is happening? What am I doing? And will it affect my grades? And I think that was like a point where I was like, okay, I might need to hire someone. And I think about grade 10 was when we hired our first person to look after the sightings while I was at work, while I was at school, sorry. And they would look after the community, repost all the sightings and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, I've got someone kind of working for me. This is crazy. And yeah, that was definitely when I felt like, okay, this might be a business, but how do we monetize it? And that was the next stage, which was then working on different ways to start making money out of this.
So I definitely want to get to the money making side of it. But
Yeah.
just before I get there, how did you decide who you're going to hire, and did you have funds to pay them with originally? Kind of because a lot of small businesses, they we go through growth of different things. Your first phase is to hire your first person is like your biggest,
Yeah.
almost like your biggest decision, and then it's your 10th person, and then it's your 100th person. So just take
Yeah.
us through your phase of how did you find the person and how did you pay them if you weren't making money yet?
So basically how we hired the first person. I mean, also this was long ago. I might not remember the exact steps, but I was pretty much talking to every single person that was part of the community, every single one. We had WhatsApp groups. And right now I think we have like 50,000 members on the WhatsApp groups. But at the time it was maybe 1,000 or a few hundred. So I found it like easy to talk to everyone. And there was one person who was just super, super friendly, who was so excited about the park. Her name was Jolene, and she ended up being our first employee. I was just speaking to her every day about like what she had seen that day, where the animals were and helping her with sightings. And then I think she just like found out more about us and that it was basically just me. And I think she just said, if you ever need anyone to help out, then yeah, it'd be great. So I realized, yeah, I do need someone to help out. And so we hired her. In terms of money, I think I I don't fully remember if we were earning by then. I think we would have started the YouTube channel pretty early on. But in terms of hiring her, we also had some investment in the beginning to start focusing on the app and building something more than just a web page, you know, in a smaller website, but to make it more featureful and stuff like that. And I think we would use some of that money to pay her. It also wasn't so much, it was basically just the entry level posting sightings on the WhatsApp groups and on the
Mm.
website. But that was basically our first employee, and it's a huge learning curve, understanding how to lead and how not to lead, and and how to speak to people. It was just an amazing like thing that I carry with me every day now.
So I think it's incredible that you went through that whole phase. And then when you talk about the YouTube channel, do you remember when you started it, how you started it, and what was the purpose to try drive people to the app? Did you have that in mind as a mechanism, as a almost like a marketing mechanism for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. As people started sharing a lot of sightings within that, like on our WhatsApp groups, on our website, I very quickly saw that we were going to get like amazing sightings, and amazing photos and amazing videos. And just kind of like the Twitter thing, the best way to build a community online was with good content. And what we did is, okay, Facebook page, let's post all the amazing story-based sightings and all the amazing photos on our Facebook page. And videos, the best way and the best place, even back then, to post videos online was YouTube. And so I kind of wanted to create different communities online based out of the amazing sightings and amazing content, and use that to drive, awareness to later sightings and to the app and to how to generate more content. And that's literally what we still do today. But YouTube, I'd had some experience running other small YouTube channels, out of just hobbies for myself before later sightings. And so I definitely knew how YouTube worked. I was really looking at the algorithms, back then. Um, and so I converted, a YouTube channel to be later sightings and started posting all the videos from the community on there. And yeah, we were starting to really go viral. But it was still a long process from, I think the first year we only had 100 subscribers. And looking at people today, they want millions and millions in the first month, and if they don't, it's a failure. You know, it's a long process, and I loved it. I loved
And
it.
if we look at it today, how many people have you got on the latest sightings, and how many subscribers have you got to YouTube? Do you know the numbers?
So overall, we have over 25 million followers now on all our different platforms.
Yeah.
Um, and something that excites me is that every single social media platform that we're on, we have like over at least 1 million followers, and I think that's just exciting because our team in the office every day, we're analyzing how to be the best and how to get each sighting to do the best that it can. Because I mean, we'll speak maybe about the business model later on, but we really want each sighting to do the best because our people who sent in the sightings will earn out of it too. And so we want them to earn as much as they can. So, the fact that our Instagram has, 1 million or our YouTube has 6 million, it just shows how much work we put in and how we take every little detail into account, in what we release. And I think that's super important. But yeah, starting it, I could never imagine that we had over like 1,000 people interested in the Kruger, let alone
Mm.
like 20 million. It's crazy to think.
And when somebody uploads the video, do you always just put it out like it is, or do you touch it up in some way? Do you add some value to it in some way?
We will almost never ever just post it as it is. You know, as our YouTube channel grew, we joined the YouTube Partner Program, which is basically when YouTube decides that you're starting to get a lot of views, we'll put ads on those videos and you'll earn. And that was really when the business started. And when when we took the content and editing even more seriously. So basically, every sign that we'll get, we'll analyze every single second, the thumbnail, the title, and we'll optimize it so it can do the best as it can. And that's what we sit and do basically every single day.
So what I want to do is I want to unpack your business model, as you've said, and how what you take, what you give to others, and how many employees you have. But we'll do that after we've earned our little bit by going for an ad break. Nadav has set up the latest sightings. He's grown it from being a 15-year-old or originally an 8-year-old, just wanting to know where the different sightings are, and developed this unbelievable website and almost like an ecosphere with a whole lot of things happening around it. And I found it fascinating that he got his first flood of people joining him when there was a flood. And the news
Mm,
agencies kind of found him, and he created it to show animals. But the first big thing that the site actually created was showing all the floods in the game reserve, something
mm,
unanticipated, but it helped him grow the main business. And now you say you've got a model, a business model that it helps people who upload the video earn from it themselves. And as you said, you want people to do it themselves. Just take us through how it works at the moment of uploading videos, and the sharing, and just your business model. And if you can tell us at this stage, is Jolene still the only employee that you have? You know, when you said Jolene, I wanted to sing that song, Jolene,
yeah.
Jolene. Purely, obviously grown from there. How many people do you
Mm.
have working? And just take us through that if you can.
So Jolene, no, it doesn't work with us anymore, but she actually sends me a WhatsApp every so often, to see how we are. So good relationship, but doesn't work for us anymore. We do have, around like 14 people now, and they do all different things. We have an editor, a writer, business development guy, data analyst, all these different positions. And the model is basically we help people see animals. Some of those sightings will be boring, like, just lions sleeping as they do. But maybe 0.5% of those sightings will be like never before seen crazy stuff. And that's what we live for. We'll see a sighting come in of, let's say, a lion riding a giraffe that's riding an elephant, something like that. And we'll be like, okay, this is crazy, this is good. We'll reach out to the person who posted it. We call it ting it. So, just like Twitter, it used to be you tweeted something. For us, you ting it on latest sightings. So we'll reach out to the person who tinged the sighting. We'll tell them we think this sighting could do well. We think our community will love this. Can you send in all that you have? All the photos, all the videos from the sighting, and basically our team will then sit and review it. And if we think it is a good quality sighting, we will then accept it. If not, we'll reject it, and then we just won't use it. But if we accept it, we then take exclusive rights to the footage, and we'll work hard on it. And we'll edit it, we'll come up with a really nice story, and then we'll post it. And then we hope for the best. I mean, at the end of the day, it is hoping for the best. You don't know how the world will react. But over the last like 10 plus years, we've kind of learned to understand what the world likes in terms of sightings, and and that's why we know what to accept and what not to accept. And then when we release it, if it does well, then the video will earn through ads, sometimes through license sales, or through other means like TV shows and stuff like that. And whatever video earns, we'll allocate the earnings to the filmmaker that originally shot it. It will be either on a revenue split, or we'll sometimes buy videos out upfront. And yeah, so that's why we want every video to do as well as it can, because then the filmmakers will also earn. And something that we learned and saw a lot during COVID was when the parks were closed, the game rangers weren't earning anything, and the guides weren't earning anything because there was no tourism. We suddenly got a huge influx of videos because everyone had time to now go through their archive. And suddenly we were a second income stream to a lot of the guides. And it was incredible to see that sometimes, and some of the guides earned almost a year's salary in 1 month because their video went viral. And that happens on a regular basis. And it's so exciting, as a business to see that, but also as just as a wildlife lover to see that still amazing sightings come in and still people get excited by it. Um, yeah, it never gets old.
What's the most an individual video has earned for the creator of that video? So if I've got a video and I think, wow, this is going to be great, what can kind of what's the record I have to beat?
So the average video will get around 15,000 Rand to 20,000 in terms of the contributors share. And that's just like an average video, a good video, nothing super crazy. But we've had some real outliers where the filmmaker would have earned over 500,000 Rand, which is crazy.
That is
Um,
crazy.
yeah, and and in dollar terms, like it's like $30,000 or whatever it is, and it's huge money, and that's why it can be life-changing to a lot of people. But it's not every video that will earn that. And we try to get people excited. We also try and not sell it that you'll earn 500,000 because it's very rare. And that's why these videos do well because they're rare. If every single video was crazy, you know what I mean? You will get used to it. Um, but it's amazing to see the potential. And we're always trying to increase that average. Before the average was 5,000, now it's like 20,000. We're trying to increase that average return per video for the filmmakers all the time because then we'll just get more footage and grow a bigger community.
Kind of the videos that people are sending in. What have you seen a theme around them? Or let's go back. Let me go back one. The video that earned the 500,000. What what was unique about that one? Do you remember what that one was? And then once you've explained that, if you can go to the ones that earn 20,000. I mean, that's fantastic to earn 20,000 on a video I've just taken.
Mm,
Is there a theme that runs through it? Kind of what makes it saleable?
yeah. The biggest theme that we look for is literally it sounds so standard, but a story. We need a beginning, a middle, and an end. We find any video that has one of those cut out, like they didn't get it, or it happened behind the tree, or whatever it is, this don't do nearly as well. And what's been the most frustrating over the last like 10 years of running this is how the TikTok mindset and the Instagram story mindset is that people are only shooting 5-second videos now. And so we're not getting the full story nearly as often. So before we would get like 5-minute videos of the full thing on a video camera in horizontal, and now it's it's 7-second videos in vertical that we now have to crop to make horizontal, and like it's becoming harder and harder to get a full story. But that is literally what we need for video to do as well as possible. Um, the other one that's also contradictory to what a lot of people believe um, is that we don't want kills. Kills don't do as well. There's a chance that they get demonetized. So demonetization is a big thing where YouTube, Facebook, all these different platforms that rely on ads switch off ads on videos that can be deemed as gory or not advertiser friendly. Like back in the day, mating videos would get millions and millions of views. Now we never post them because no one wants to advertise on mating elephants, for example. Even though it's nature and it's fascinating to see as like just a nature enthusiast, advertisers don't like it. So there's like a bit of where things change. Um, so we don't look for crazy kills. If one comes in and it's a fascinating sighting, definitely we'll share it and we'll post it. But we love the species interactions of different predators where no one dies, there's no blood, and there's a happy ending. Those are the best ones.
A story of survival would be if there's a potential kill and the animal gets away. Would that be one
Yeah.
that people would like?
So yeah, like that's definitely one. So like well, the one that we released 2 days ago, if anyone's interested, was a baby buffalo calf that lions got hold of. Then the mother came and chased all the lions away. and then she stood, and then behind her, suddenly the whole herd came in and chased the lions away, and like the baby survived. And so there, that's done well. It's already on like 1 million views or whatever it is. So that's a nice happy ending story. But I think the best ones are not even like with the predator prey, because that happens all the time. It's like the lion leopard interactions, the predator on predator interactions, those never, like literally never get old. Or the big animals like elephants versus buffaloes, stuff like that, where it's not necessarily predator and prey, but like interesting species that don't usually interact. And those really do well.
Great. So I want to come back and ask you some of those questions. And have you ever had also, when I come back, I'm going to ask you, have you ever had any dilemma around uploading anything where you've felt it's unethical, etc.? But we'll do
Mm.
that when we come back after the break. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ort Jet Business Show. I'm David Zidel, and I'm talking to Nadav Ossendryver, who owns it, and he's a creator of latest sightings, and he's just unpacking exactly how it's worked and how it developed over the years, and what are the better ones and which ones show. And he said that the best ones are ones that actually capture a whole story and tell a story. I want you to touch on the Battle of the Beasts, or the Battle of Kruger, that happened a while back. But before we get there, we had this question from a listener who said, has he ever had an ethical dilemma about publishing a video? What was it, and what was the video, and how did you handle it?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And thanks. I like when people ask, from people who are listening in. And we've had definitely over the years, and we've learned more and more what not to post, what to post. And the biggest one for us is animal and human interactions, whether it's charges or anything like that. We used to think, years ago, that wow, an elephant just charged a car. That is crazy. It's an amazing sighting, stuff like that. But we find whenever we upload those types of sightings, there's just more negativity than anything. Everyone's always complaining. They're making up things why the guide was wrong for why the elephant charged him, or why the person was so stupid for doing that. Like, and it's just we don't like it. We want to create a happy community around amazing sightings, and so we'll get animal on top of cars and stuff like that, where we've learned we just don't want to post that. We don't want to encourage stuff like that. And we've learned our lesson. We've posted sightings of a leopard on a car, or a cheetah on a car, for example, and not really understanding what it means to post something like that, and how people then think it's so amazing and so cool, and they want to have it to themselves, and we don't want to encourage that. And we've learned our lesson. Okay, those types of sightings don't work well. We don't want to encourage that, and so we try not to post that. Um, and it's a calmer community because of it. We also there was a sighting of I think a crocodile that killed a dog, and we posted that. Someone just posted that sighting on the group. It was shared, and also the reaction was like none other. We never understood. We never really thought what the reaction was going to be. Um, we didn't post it as a sensational thing. It was just a sighting that came in. It's unusual to see a dog in the Kruger, but it happened. And also the reaction was very um, very much a lesson for us. So we've also learned not to post any animals that are domesticated, that can be domesticated, because also people have a huge connection to those types of animals, and it can really be sad to see one of that's been taken away, even though it could be compared to, a crocodile that kills an impala, for example, but that's more natural than a dog or a cat, or stuff like that. So we've learned that, and we try and learn all the time, and we'll definitely post something that might be unethical in the future, and we'll learn from it, and we'll change the way we do stuff.
We haven't got much time left. It's amazing how this
Wow.
flows. I,
I can't believe it.
just
Yeah.
for somebody who's starting up, maybe another Nadav who's at school now, who is 15, 16-year old, starting up
Mm,
a channel that they're doing, how do they go about monetizing it? What could they learn from Nadav? What could you tell them about earning a little bit of pocket money from opening up a YouTube channel, for instance?
mm. So with social media today, I think there's so many avenues, way more than just YouTube. And there might be places that are easier. YouTube is obviously now very much mainstream and a lot harder to, to stand out, but I'll definitely start with that. If they want practical advice and not really what to make a channel about and stuff like that, but let's say they have a YouTube channel and they have something that they're already doing, I would definitely suggest doing the short form content just to suddenly get a huge boost of views. It's an amazing way to reach millions of people without any followers, and then use that to start building a bigger and more loyal community. Our some of our short form videos, like on TikTok and on YouTube and on Instagram, have over 400 million views on one post, and that's we have nowhere near 400 million followers, and so that's a huge way nowadays to start standing out. And then you use that community to start monetizing your channel. That would definitely be my practical advice.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm getting the frantic signs from our sound engineer saying it's time to wrap up. And I'm like, no, no, I don't want to wrap up yet.
Yeah,
Nadav, thank you so much. We're going to all be following your latest sightings. And I just want to
thank
say
you.
thank you so much and for sharing what you've shared. I'm David
No, it's a
Zidel.
pleasure.
This is Nadav Ossendryver, latest sightings, and you've been listening to the Ort Jet Business Show.